Hi, this is another short Fabric Delta Stream demo. It's off the back of my previous demo, which showed how a Fabric Delta Stream can pick up new and deleted columns and tables from a SQL Server source. Off the back of this, someone asked me last week what happens if we are Delta streaming from a SQL Server source to Fabric and a column type changes on that SQL source. This demo will show how this is handled. So without further ado, let's crack on. So we're in a PySpark notebook. So I'm just going to set up my database, which is in Azure SQL DB. So I'll just run that. Okay. Enable CDC on the database. The database is called Rainbow, by the way. So let's do that. Next thing, create a very simple table of countries with a country name column. Enable CDC on that table country. We're going to use two capture instances. So the first one is called V1. So let's create V1. We'll create V2 later. Okay. So let's create some data or a record in that for Japan. There we go. Let's switch to Fabric. Just set Fabric up so I can create a workspace. No. Let's create a new one. New workspace. There we go. Let's call this Rainbow. Like that. It's on the trial. That's right. Apply. Okay, let's add a Delta stream to this workspace, or an event stream. I'll call that Rainbow as well. Okay, let's give that a moment to work. Okay, there's our Rainbow workstream. Connect the data source. It's going to be SQL. There we go. Connect. Yes, create connection. I've got a Rainbow connection here somewhere. There she blows. There we go. Yeah. Next. We need to choose this one. So we pick up the changes at source. Quite an important thing to do. There we go. Create schema that this is going to end up in on Fabric. Let's call it SQL source, like that. Next. Check all that. Looks good. Connect. Give it a moment. All three. Just connects it to the database. Still connected to the database. There we go. Got there eventually. So yeah, let's add that. There we go. That's our stream. We're not doing a destination in this demo, but it could be a data warehouse or a lake house or whatever. So let's publish that. Just wait for the publish to finish. There we go. Now hopefully we're going to see, it's basically create a snapshot in the background. Obviously there's very little data here, just one table with one record, so this shouldn't take very long, he said. Loading the data. Give it a moment. There we go. There's Japan, and it's picked up as an insert. So that looks good. Okay, next thing then. So let's have a play around with the country name column on the DBO table, DBL country table. So let's shorten it from a 256 to 100 NVARCHAR. So let's try that. Okay, let's add a new record for Argentina to the table. So we've got to think about that one, look. There we go, 21 seconds for some reason. Okay, so yeah, so let's switch to Fabric and see if we can see this new record, which is now varchar 100 on the column. So let's have a look at that. Just do a quick refresh there. Let's wait for the data to load again. Maybe we'll go 100. So it's worked. So we've gone from a NVARCHAR 256 to an NVARCHAR 100. Happy with that. He's happy with it because there are now countries which are over 100 characters in length. Just to prove that, if we again change the country name column on the country table to an NVARCHAR 5, like that, we can't do it because SQL has captured that, because we would truncate the data in that table, so it stops us doing it. So that can never happen. So that error, that change never makes it through to Fabric, which is good. But let's just try a few other things. So let's create a new column on the country table called ratio, which is an NVARCHAR 256. Done. Let's set up a second tracking table to pick up this new column. There we go. And let's set all the records on the country table to a ratio equal to 5, which is a character string, as we can see. So let's do that. And let's switch to Fabric and do the refresh. Just wait for the data to load again. There we go. So it's picked up the new column, which is a varchar type. And we've got the pre and post update values. Back to SQL. So let's change the ratio column to an int on the source table. You're happy with that? And now we've done that, let's set all the ratio values to 99 on that table. But I'll think about that as well for some reason. Give it a few seconds, or 20 seconds. There we go. Right, let's switch to Fabric and see what that has done. So there we go. Just refresh the data view again. Just make that a bit bigger, like that. And there we go, it's happy. It's picked up, the 5s are there, the 99 is there, so the 5 was previously a character string, but we've got a 99 as an int, so it's come through and it's done some kind of implicit conversion in the background. So that's quite useful. So next step is let's change it back, the ratio column back to a character. So I'm going to change it to something like a char 67. So let's do that. And let's try and set all the ratios to a non-numeric. So I'm going to set them all to the word Fred, or the name Fred. Do that. There we go. That was quick. Let's just switch to Fabric and see what that has done. Refresh. Just thinking about it. Still thinking about it. Let's go down a bit, and we see that for Japan we got Fred, but we've got the previous values being integers as well. So it's happily taken those changes in, not bothering about the type or what's happening beforehand on SQL. Let's switch back to SQL a moment. And finally, let's try and switch the ratio column back to an integer value. And of course, SQL stops us because we've got a value of Fred in there for the Japan record. So again, that error has occurred at the SQL level. It's not made it through to Fabric. So what's the lessons learned here? I would say implicit conversions work where data makes sense, i.e. a character column containing nulls or integers can be converted to int. and Fabric is happy with this. But if the character column does not contain nulls or integer or numerics or whatever, the T-SQL alter table alter column statement will fail. The other observation is that columns can be increased but not decreased in such a way that will truncate the existing data in that column. So interesting experiment, and hope you learned something, and thanks very much.